how happy.
No, don't do this.
What?
I had something planned, but go ahead.
Why do you have to start the show?
Sometimes you do.
Every time.
Because you start after Schmo all the time.
Why's your name the author on the iTunes?
Because I set it up.
It could say Jay and Ryan.
Well.
Or it could just say Sight and Sound.
Well, it doesn't. And I don't know. It just doesn't. I'm paying for the Podbean hosting. You were paying for SoundCloud, but.
Well, SoundCloud's trash.
Is it? I think it was doing pretty well for us. We just didn't want to keep up with it anymore.
The idea of SoundCloud is amazing, but I think that company is about to go down the pooper. I've been reading a lot of stuff about it.
Can I tell you?
And by a lot of stuff, I mean headlines on Facebook, but not the actual articles.
Can I tell you why this entire week has been interesting to me? We had May 4th on Thursday. May the 4th be with you. We had May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And then today is one of the most famous days for Kentucky. Today, when we're recording this on a Saturday, May 6th, it was a Kentucky Derby. And you guys are listening to a podcast hosted by two guys that live in Kentucky and two guys who probably couldn't give less of a shit about horses running around in a circle.
Now, since you were afraid that I was going to start off the show, did you really think that I was going to gloss over the topic of the Kentucky Derby?
No, I didn't think so. But
we have to live up to. There is an expectation set on us by our buddy Ralph. Good fan. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Lenardic. I tried. He calls us rednecks.
That's right, he does.
And we have to live up to that. We have to live up to our Kentucky heritage by talking about the Kentucky Derby. But you're absolutely right. Neither of us give two shits about it.
It's a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal in sports and just the zeitgeist in general.
Is it?
I mean,
people make it a big deal, but it's
for what it's worth. It's of all the main American sports, it's probably the most global. That
well, they're all posers.
I mean, football is not as much of a global sport as people realize it is in America. Basketball and baseball are also not global sports in America.
Do you think that Jeff Bridges gives two shits about horse racing any other day out of the year? I don't think so. People are going to dress up and get drunk. That's all it is. We're all the fans of the Kentucky Derby are posers. I live in Kentucky. We have in Lexington where popular movies have been filmed. I believe Seabiscuit with Tobey Maguire was filmed.
Also Elizabethtown.
What was Elizabethtown filmed at the racetrack?
Elizabethtown was filmed here in Versailles, where I live.
Well, my point's about horse racing.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's valid. I auditioned to be in that movie.
I brought Orlando Bloom and Ale8.
My good friend's sister and mom were extras in Secretariat.
Awesome.
So people my age go to Keeneland to experience this. I mean, it is a form of gambling. Sure, I guess that gets people hard. But they're posers. Because what they're doing is it's an excuse to just go get drunk. People don't actually care about horse racing. Even though, I mean, there are people that care about horse racing, but the people I know that go to experience this don't actually care. They're going because it's a social thing and they're going to get trashed. But that's why I think it's all an act. All the celebrities that come to Kentucky to visit the Derby, they're all posers. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm not going to.
I think those are strong words. If they want to come visit it, they can. Are we posers because we go to New York to see the Empire State Building?
Well, no.
Okay, it's just an event. It's an event that people want to go to. Regardless, there are two things that I remember very vividly about the Derby every year. One is John Locke would go. What's that guy's
Terry
name?
O'Quinn.
Terry O'Quinn would go to the Derby every single year, and it used to make me so happy. Just to see him walking. Just the fact that he was in Kentucky made me really happy. But a few years ago, it was a couple years ago, I guess, Bill Burr actually, it was on his bucket list to go to the Kentucky Derby, and he went, or he either went or he was about to go, and I saw him the same week that the Derby was going on. I saw him perform at the University of Kentucky, and he came out dressed in a white tuxedo to look just like Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, and it was pretty hilarious. And the entire story that he told, of course, Bill Burr got into like some verbal argument with somebody at the Kentucky Derby, and it was great. It was. Do
you have a Bill Burr impression?
Hang on, let me think. What's his wife's name?
I don't know.
Shit, what is his wife's name? Oh, Billy boy! That's what he would say all the time, or he'd go, Dr. Carver's shaved butter.
What?
Dr. Carver's shaved butter?
I mean, that's a funny voice you're doing, but it doesn't sound anything like Bill Burr. The reason why I brought up...
What the fuck's going on with the Celtics?
On the way... Okay, that's Bill Burr. On the way over here, our friend Cody tweeted at us. Did you watch that video?
No.
So...
I don't know who Cody is.
Cody sent us there's like some promotional video, and apparently it's a thing. In Kingsman, the sequel that we just talked about last week, Kentucky is featured yet again. Like, that's where the Statesmen are apparently based out of. That's where Channing Tatum is in the movie.
Kentucky was in The Leftovers.
It was.
Just 2 weeks ago.
But so check out that video. It's like a legit like promotional trailer, but it's based about Kentucky because they're drinking bourbon. So that's what he tweeted at us. And Jeff Bridges was, of course, at the Derby today. My mom's boyfriend is in this part I didn't ask. I didn't dive deep. I was just more astounded by the story itself. He's a drug enforcement officer, but somehow he was part of the crew that escorted Jeff Bridges to the Derby today. And
he was hauling a bunch of coke.
Apparently, Jeff Bridges was trashed.
Amazing.
And
breaking news.
I made a joke about, getting his autograph. Of course, that's unethical, and he can't do that while he's on the clock. But anyway, Warren Moon. He also escorted Warren Moon today.
Famous football player.
And then a third person.
Houston Oilers?
He forgot.
Warren Moon? Houston Oilers?
I'll look it up. But I just thought that was a fun fact, and it's pretty cool to highlight Kentucky in that way.
Yeah, I just don't care. Just don't care about the Derby. It is what it is. My whole family had a party, went over there, and it gave me anxiety for more reasons than one. But regardless, just don't care.
Well, in general, I hate horses. Like,
it's been a constant staple of our friendship.
It's one of my greatest fears. I think they're absolutely ridiculous. They're ridiculous things that people want to be around. That's for sure. They can just kick you in the head if they get spooked and then you're dead. That's nuts. Think about a stampede. Think about if horses just came stampeding in your hallway. How scary that would be. It'd be like that scene in Jumanji with the rhinos knocking over the library.
My dad used to train horses. Did you know that?
My God. How is he still alive?
We owned 2 horses.
How are you still alive?
I used to go and muck stalls with them all the time. Used to be around horses.
Stalls?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's when you basically pick up their shit in their stalls and...
is that what they call horse shit? Muck?
No, that's just what you call doing it. You like kind of take the hay and toss it and put new hay in there.
Do you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to milk
That's another thing about a horse. Let's just talk about one thing about a horse. They like to lay in hay, which is super uncomfortable. Do you think they like that? Who do you think came up with that? Hey, let's put down this shitty, stiff, itchy hay.
What's the alternative? Laying in the grass?
100%.
Grass is hardly a cushion. If you're laying in the grass, you're still just laying on the ground.
You don't really see horses laying that often. You really see them standing all the time.
Yeah, why don't they relax? They never chill out.
Yeah, calm down.
You were the one that said they're laying in hay.
I'm
just talking about the alternative. If they're going to lay somewhere.
I'm just saying. Anyways, one other thing, while we're on the horse topic, why not? One of the very social events that people do where we're from is they go to a place called Keeneland, which is a very famous racetrack.
What Keeneland
yeah, but some people don't pay attention to what you say. So people like to go there, and it like you said, it's literally like a field party or tailgating event just to get drunk.
Full of posers.
I've had many a girlfriend. That's not my thing.
No, you haven't.
That's not my thing. And I've had many a girlfriend that have tried to drag me out to those.
Yeah.
And I've refused. that is not what I enjoy doing. I can't podcast at Keeneland.
I'm not convinced they enjoy it. That's why they get trashed.
I mean, have you ever been to Keeneland?
Yeah.
Like as like a over 21-year-old individual?
No.
Okay.
It's like when you asked me, you ever been to Vegas? Of course. Oh, really? What'd you do there? Well, I went to the M&M factory and saw Lance Burton. I
mean, I just think that it would be a very, very, very cold day in hell if a woman were to swoon you and get you to go to Keeneland, it would be one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed.
I was going to say, one of the most amazing things is if a woman ended up swooning me. That's fair. That's already a giant leap. The second being getting me to go do anything that I don't want to do in general is another leap. And then you go all the way to the other end of the spectrum to a lady getting me to go to Keeneland, a racetrack, and be with all those posers. It's not what I'm about.
You're very resilient.
Yeah. My yearbook quote was, "You don't have to do anything," and I live by that.
One of my new Sight and Sound shirt designs is going to be, "It's not about you." It's not always.
Well, I'm
going
to make one that says, "You don't have to do anything."
Regardless, that's going to transition us very nicely
into what I wanted to bring up.
Fair enough. So if you guys are listening to this on a Monday or maybe a Wednesday on SK Plus, our shirts are out. They're available right now. May 7th, this past Sunday, we released them, sightsoundpod.com. We have 4 t-shirts up right now. We're going to have more designs coming down the pipe. The Sight and Sound, a very lovely podcast t-shirt with some cherry blossoms on it and a white tee. That's a limited shirt. You're only going to be able to get that until the end of June. Once it's gone forever. We'll bring in another limited shirt. So make sure you get it while you can. And yeah, I'm excited. If you guys want to pick up one and support us and support the show and look good while you're doing it. Do you have anything to say about t-shirts?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the best way to support us. We talked about it on After Schmo. I don't know what the fraction of our audience is, Schmovillians versus non-Schmovillians. But for the non-Schmovillians, these t-shirts will help fund sort of everything that we do, whether it be like if you're a listener that has a transition from the TV Showtime app, maybe because of the Let's Talk Legion show or because of our leftovers recaps. We sort of have this like small network thing going on here, and we're trying to make it bigger and better and get studio space and add video to our shows, all that stuff. You can help support us by buying those shirts that Jay's talking about. And Jay designs the shirts. And he's an experienced graphic designer. So I think
very experienced. Some would say that's how I make my living.
Yeah. I think all of you will be happy with the designs, and I think you guys are going to look good wearing them. So please support us, and you can, again, find those shirts at sightsoundpod.com. But it's also just a TeePublic link, so you'll be able to go to TeePublic and find Sight and Sound up there as well.
Not just T-shirts either. You can buy mugs of the designs. You can buy phone cases, laptop cases. I think not right now, but there will be hoodies and crew neck long sleeve t-shirts and crew neck sweaters available as well. And that's just one of the ways that you can support us. We're developing, maybe you're not a t-shirt guy. I like t-shirts. I'm not really much of a t-shirt guy.
I love t-shirts.
But regardless, there'll be some other ways in the future. But yeah, we have a lot of ideas for things where we want to take this thing. If for some reason you stumbled upon this and you're like, man, these guys are really good at what they do, you're right about that. But we're just a couple of guys. We both have day jobs. We work 9 to 5, sort of. He has a weird schedule. But, we're just making this grind. And some people probably look at podcasting as a hobby, but this is a dream of ours. We really want this to go a long way. Maybe we'll do an after party here soon, and maybe we'll get deep into the weeds about all that stuff. But your support would be greatly appreciated. And if you guys buy a shirt, we love you regardless, but that's another level of commitment. So we really appreciate it.
Sounds itchy.
The t-shirts? Oh, getting in the weeds. I'm very susceptible to poison ivy.
I'm not allergic to anything because I'm genetically perfect.
Incredible. All right, let's get into, I don't know what our first topic is going to be.
Well, first, I still have to ask you a question.
Okay, go
15 minutes later. How happy are you that I am not satisfied with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh,
Volume 2?
yeah. I forgot about this.
I don't know how you could forget this.
So here's the thing. I'm not one to boast. I'm not going to rub anything in, but let's just run down the timeline here. So we did a trailer reaction for the first trailer that dropped, and I went back and rewatched it, and I was skeptical. I was famously, no, not famously. I was
You're famously. I saw articles written about you
in the Sight and Sound space. I was famously skeptical about it, and we had a lot of not arguments, but back and forth discussion on our summer preview. At one point, I even asked you. I said, is there any chance that this could be a bad movie? And at first, your response was, no way. And I said, you're doing the thing that the Star Wars people do. And then you said, well, I mean, it could be bad, but the chances are very, very unlikely. One other awesome bit of thing, I did predict the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is not a bad score. You corrected me and everybody else that said that it was a mixed review. It's not a mixed review. It's a mixed review from people that I take in movie reviews from, you included now. Christian was also a little bit lukewarm on it. Lukewarm might be a good thing, but I said 86% on the nose, and I don't know what it's at now, but that's what it was at for quite a while after the critics reviewed
I was about to look it up, but frankly, I don't care how right you are anymore. But I still don't think it's a bad movie. So I can put that asterisk there. So in a way, I'm still right when I say there's no way it can be bad. But if you were to ask, is there any way that you come out of that theater and not being satisfied, then I would have looked like an asshole. Man, I wasn't feeling it. Not feeling it. And I know a lot of people are liking it. I mean, a lot of people have seen it already. I'm seeing some people have already seen it 3 times. People that I'm just friends with on Facebook. You guys are lunatics. Because it's Saturday. But I wasn't feeling it. My sister asked me to go with her again next weekend. I don't even want to. It's just like this is a movie that I definitely need to wait and watch again when it comes out, because I'll probably buy it. You asked me if I'd buy the Blu-ray. Probably not. I'll buy it digitally. I don't care about owning it physically, but I don't know, man. Just, you can watch my review up on the YouTube channel right now. Non-spoilers, and I'm not going to get into it much more. I'll probably do a spoiler thing down the line, but
a couple things real quick. One, it has been completely relegated to I'm waiting until I can rent it on iTunes to watch it, or maybe if you get it, I'll watch it with you, and maybe we'll do a never before seen or something like that for it. That'd be kind of fun.
Doesn't really count.
So there's that, and a lot of people are talking now, which I think it's kind of funny and interesting, that Marvel aren't necessarily known, with the exception of maybe one film, aren't necessarily known for making absolutely incredible sequels. And when I say incredible, I mean just 5-star, A+ level sequels. Obviously, Winter Soldier, highly touted by a lot of people. A lot of people love that film. Iron Man 2, I didn't mind Iron Man 2 so much, but was it great? I don't know.
People exaggerate how bad it is.
So, but,
I mean, it's just fine, but
it's nothing new. Thor: The Dark World, which I actually haven't seen. Age of Ultron, which I don't think that movie's that bad either. It's sort of mediocre, at best. And
sometimes I'd prefer to watch Age of Ultron before I watch the original Avengers.
Here's one thing.
It just depends on the mood.
So I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Here's one thing that I do want to say, and I'm curious about this. Do you think, so this film, and correct me if I'm wrong, this film really had nothing to do with the rest of what's going on in the MCU? Didn't even, I mean, obviously the Guardians are in the MCU and they will be in.
It has even less to do with the MCU than the first one.
Do you think any of that has anything to do with the fact that maybe it just didn't have as much focus to the film, or maybe your enjoyment of it at all? Do you think it could have been better if they would have tried to intertwine some of those story elements?
That's not the problem.
Okay.
No, it's not the problem.
It's just a question. I wanted to ask.
If anything, that's one of the reasons why I still like when I am engulfed in the Guardians of the Galaxy is that I don't have to worry about anything else.
Okay, sweet. Well, we're here.
Yeah, that's not the issue.
We're here in movies. Let's go ahead and kick off our movie topic. I don't exactly know what we're talking about. There was a few ideas thrown out there. What have we landed on?
That kick-ass Dunkirk trailer.
Holy shit.
I mean, unless you have a comment on the Feige's comments.
No.
Okay.
Because
Feige said that the TV universe and the movie universe will eventually collide, which, that I feel like there's a different take on that like every 3 months, but we don't really have to go over that. But
on our summer preview, we got into a pretty in-depth discussion about Dunkirk, and it's there for everybody to hear. I didn't realize we were going to be getting this trailer when we got it. You just watched it for the first time right before we went on the air. Go ahead and set us up.
I almost didn't even really recall. I didn't recall that it came out.
Yeah.
Like, I remember earlier in the week, and I guess this is just how busy I was in the past couple of days. So I remember getting did we get some kind of tease, or I think they released like a clip. I knew that something came out, but I didn't realize it was a full trailer. It wasn't until I was diving. You saw at the end of our vlog that we posted that I was looking up movie topics right before we record. I did it yet again. And Dunkirk was one of those things that I saw on Slash Film.
It was like a trailer announcement clip.
That's what I'm thinking of. So anyway, just deep diving on Slash Film before we hit record, I realized that a Dunkirk trailer actually came out. This thing, we talked about like Nolan's legacy. We talked about how I was a little, when I first heard about the idea of him doing World War II, I was a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, as was I.
Our conversation eventually came to the conclusion that this was about legacy. This was about Nolan doing things that we haven't seen Nolan do yet. And it was also you also had the perspective that you think this movie is a greater challenge for him,
yes,
than something like Inception, and I took the other way. But it's very interesting conversation actually that I would love to hear smarter people have.
Absolutely. and too, and I didn't have this perspective going into that conversation, but the fact that I think this is going to cross over to people outside of individuals that would normally go see this movie, because I think just you don't get a lot of war movies, especially a lot of war movies from directors of Nolan's caliber. I mean, we get them every now and then, once maybe every few years, would you say? You get, well, I don't even know. When's the last like big director that's done a big war movie?
I don't know.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle to even remember. But
I mean, would you call something like Exodus, Gods and Kings? Like, would you consider that a war movie? I mean, it ends in a battle scene.
Is that movie, is that like an actual like military war movie?
No, there's conflict.
No, I'm talking about like a World War I, World War II, Vietnam sort of movie.
Wonder Woman?
It just doesn't happen that often. So I think, and there's a
Captain America: The Civil War.
There's a huge
That's my answer.
There's a huge fan base for people who like war movies. I mean, I think
oh shit, Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh my god, yeah, we're dumb.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, we're
that
dumb.
movie made me cry my eyes out.
But regardless, again, that's another big name director that went out and took the helm of that film. But those movies have an audience, and I think it's going to be great for Nolan to tackle this style of movie because he has such an incredible eye, and just the way he films things and the way he structures his films. I'm more just intrigued about the execution of this more than anything, because you're right, the trailer was mind-blowing. They showed you so much in that trailer without like, normally when you say that they showed so much, you're saying they showed too much, but it was just fuck the Fast and the Furious. They didn't
show story. They just showed a lot of shots.
They sort of gave you an idea of what some of the dilemma was. I'm ignorant to the fact of what this battle was. We get the beaches of Normandy,
I guess
sort of stuff all the time.
That just so I can clarify, because someone right now is typing. you need to research the story, and then you'll know that they actually gave it all away, or I don't know, some bullshit like that. No, what I'm saying is, unlike something like with Spider-Man: Homecoming trailer, that trailer shows us beats of the film,
Yeah.
whereas this doesn't show us beats. It does give us more of an idea of what it's about. Like they talk about in the subtitle how it's about 400,000 men who couldn't get home. We know that about it, but we didn't see particular plot points. They just showed a collage of shots.
It's also difficult to pinpoint who this movie focuses on. I mean, I only saw, in terms of actual lead main actors, I saw Cillian Murphy and
Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance.
Harry Styles is hardly promoted. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Let me just say this before, just because you brought up his name. Harry Styles right now, fucking killing it. There's 2 singles he dropped.
Yeah.
Immediately went on my standalone singles of the year playlist.
That's awesome.
Those are
They're
both
great.
I cannot wait for his album to drop. Anyways, and what's his name?
Tom
Hardy. Also, who didn't even have like a line in the film.
He just said I got him when he was shooting down somebody.
Somebody, we were watching a movie talk clip of them talking about this before we went on air, and I think it was John Roca brought up this point. I don't know if they're taking this route or not, but where the movie is sort of from different individuals' perspectives, which I think is kind of cool. And that's anytime you get a war movie like this, or something that's nonfiction based event, like the Beaches of Normandy sort of thing, or a Pearl Harbor, so to speak. We know what the story there is, but there's always a smaller story to be told, and that's what we're waiting to see play out. I don't know what that is, but just some of the shots. Let me ask you this:
sort of like, while I've got Moneyball on my mind,
yes,
we're waiting for the story about Brad Pitt and his daughter. We already know from the trailer that it's about him saving this baseball team, but
yes,
we're waiting for the addition of his relationship with his daughter and things like that.
That's right. And let me ask you this question. This trailer looks incredible. I think the movie looks incredible. Does it to you look like a Nolan film? That's question 1. And 2, what shots in this trailer made you say, yep, that's Nolan?
It 100% looks like a Nolan trailer. Based on, I believe it's the same cinematographer from Interstellar, Hoyt something. You can fact check me. You know what? We forgot to do Twitter polls. I suck.
It's all right. We can take a week off.
Anyway.
No, really, we could launch one right now if you wanted to.
I believe it's the same cinematographer. Yeah, I'll do it. And I'll make sure. Actually, I'm going to ask that question. The question is it harder for Nolan to make a movie like, okay, that's the Twitter poll. Guys, you can follow the Twitter poll at Sight Sound Pod, and I'll make sure to put it up for a week.
Another poll I want to throw out there too is, does Dunkirk look like a Nolan movie? Yes or no?
Well, I think it's yes. I think it based on the cinematography, but it also reminds me.
Why did you say that like Bane? Yes.
The fire rises. I'm Kumail Nanjiani. I'm Kumail Nanjiani. Good morning, Vietnam.
You're gonna get the dogs riled up.
That was Bane doing Good Morning Vietnam.
You don't have to do anything.
That's Bane doing Ryan Snelling.
That's right.
So, what was the question?
It's just a thing.
It's just a thing. The question was...
That's all people are going to talk about in the comments on SK Plus. I actually didn't think that was a very good Bane impression. Sorry we didn't talk about food this week, guys.
The question was, does it look like a Nolan movie?
Side note, I'm sorry. Our plays were a little low on SK Plus this past week. I'm just going to throw it out there. The reason why we didn't talk about food, I don't know why, but if you want people to comment on YouTube, you either need to be super controversial, like call Josh McCouga a douchebag, or...
I said D-bag.
Or 2, you need to talk about food, because that's all anybody wants to talk about in the comments. We're so sorry we forgot to do that. I'm sorry.
I feel like you're taking that personal. You didn't like our play count.
It's shtick. I was a little offended
Is it, though?
I was a little offended by it. Guys, what the hell? Let's get those plays up. Go ahead and hit that retweet button on what we posted on Twitter. Okay, did it look like a Nolan film, and what shots sort of tipped you off to
Well, I guess I'm going to kind of answer your question. It reminds me of the opening for The Dark Knight Rises, based on
the color grading in general reminded
based
me
on
of
the colors, based on the actual aerial shots of actual planes. I mean, that's what it reminds of all the things that Nolan has done. That's what it reminds me of.
Nolan knows how to direct a good aerial view of something, and that the first clip of the trailer is coming over some water, and you sort of see the separation between water and beach and mainland, and it's sort of at an angle. You know, it's not just pure overhead, it's at this weird angle. That always tips me off to Nolan. Anytime there's some sort of inversion going on, or just your actual plane, horizon lines, they're never how they seem to be. That's always a Nolan thing. You go back to Inception, you see the city inverting in on itself, or Interstellar, you see some of those shots of Earth from the wing of a rocket ship or whatever.
Right. Oh, those shots in Interstellar, we saw that film together. That literally induced anxiety and panic for me. I thought I was literally leaving Earth because of those launching scenes. But anyway, that's what it reminded me of more than anything. And then when I saw waves crashing, I thought we were going to get Leo waking up.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the beach.
Will Leonardo DiCaprio be in this movie?
No.
Will Joseph Gordon-Levitt be in this movie?
No. But
a lot of people didn't know that.
I do expect a Matt Damon cameo.
I was about to say, yeah.
What was the other Twitter? Oh yeah, I don't think this is a good question, but I'll ask it anyway.
Okay, fair enough. Look, I'm excited about this film. I think it's going to do great in the box office. I think it's going to do. Okay, next question, and I guess you can go wherever you want to go with it after this. But feelings on a Best Picture, Best Director Oscar buzz around this film. After seeing this trailer, where are you? Where's the heat meter on the Nolan Oscar?
It might be too early to tell. I mean, it absolutely has clout at the Oscars. I mean, the only thing that someone might argue is that it's coming out too early, but that didn't make any difference for Inception or The Dark Knight. Because The Dark Knight was also it was a July release as well. I don't remember when Inception came out, what month, but I don't think that matters. I think Christopher Nolan will always be considered, particularly with this, if anything. It's hard to say. I mean, you could say that it has best screenplay. I don't think, for some reason, do the actors, aside from Heath Ledger, do the actors ever really stand out in Nolan films? Like, I don't see. That's not something I'm going into Dunkirk expecting.
I mean, I thought McConaughey was great in Interstellar.
But an Oscar.
For that film, not in particular. Leonardo DiCaprio, nobody in Inception really stood out to me as being like an overwhelming performance. I thought the entire ensemble cast did a great job. But no, not really. I mean, yeah, Christopher Nolan, I don't think is really known. We've said it multiple times. The star of the show in any Nolan film, 9 times out of 10, is the concept and his overall take and his tone of the films. But I don't know if acting is necessarily his strongest suit. And Heath Ledger as the Joker, you can contribute as much to Heath Ledger himself as you could. I mean, Heath Ledger developed that whole persona and character.
I was going to say, I feel like Heath Ledger showed up and did his thing, and Christopher was like, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't have to tell him anything.
Dope. Holy shit!
I really like this.
Jonah, did you see that? Oh, I'm too busy working on Westworld.
Right. So dumb. Did I even give my take on the trailer? I thought it was explosive. Like, it blew my mind.
Legitimately.
I thought it was arguably the best trailer this year. I mean, nothing has blown me away since the Mummy trailer.
I mean, it's everything that you could ever want from a war movie trailer. I mean, I feel like it delivered on, if they would have given us more story, I feel like it would have been like, I'm not even going to say a cherry on top. That might have almost would have had a negative reaction to the trailer if I felt like they would have tried to have shoehorned in more story elements to it, just because so much of it was so fitting. I mean, trailers are supposed to make you want to go see movies. And this really, really, really made me want to go see this movie beyond the fact that it's just Nolan, and I'm a massive fan of him regardless.
Right now is the most I've ever wanted to see Dunkirk. Like,
yeah.
Even though I'm a huge Nolan fan, I didn't know what I was supposed to be excited for yet, if that makes sense. This did the trick.
Absolutely. Look, that's pretty much all I've got for Dunkirk. I do want to throw a quick plug. I did a trailer reaction for The Dark Tower. The Dark Tower trailer finally dropped and it came out. I'm a massive fan of the Gunslinger book itself and do have quite a bit of knowledge on this series in general. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic. So go and check out my reaction / trailer review on our YouTube channel. You got anything else before we take a break?
No, let's take a break and then we'll be back to talk TV.
All right, we'll be right back. We love cramming your ear holes with sight and sound goodness, but now we want to be all over your body. Wait, before you file a police report, we want you to wear our t-shirts. Head on over to sightsoundpod.com and pick up your sight and sound gear today. Every month we are releasing exclusive and limited designs, so if you see something you really want, make sure to pick it up before it goes away forever. Oh yeah, and the best part? Every time you buy a Sight and Sound shirt, you can go to bed at night feeling like a better person because you are doing your part to not only support this show, but make it better in the future. We have a ton of ideas to make Sight and Sound better for you, like doing a video version of Sight and Sound Weekly. Every time you buy a t-shirt, you are supporting us and helping make that dream a reality. Again, head on over to sightsoundpod.com and pick up your Sight and Sound gear today. TV topics are always a little strange for me because, of course, we can hype an upcoming show or talk about the premiere of an upcoming show, but when the premieres are done and we've hyped up something that's coming out, when shows are actually going on, then we sort of run out of things to talk about. We're sort of praying and hoping that there are news bits to come out. And this week, a pretty big news topic came out involving good old Game of Thrones, which we cannot wait to start watching the next season. But how much do you know about this story?
Everything
about the story. Okay, interesting.
I even know all 4 pitches.
Okay, sweet. So
I have a hookup.
I want to hear them do you really? Are you serious about this?
No.
Okay. Regardless.
Yeah, I hit up Makuga. He told me all about it.
Regardless, Luke Jaggers and I actually had a pretty in-depth conversation. I've got my own thoughts about it, but
I muted that.
I know you did. Let's hear what the story itself is.
Oh, okay. So next summer is the final season of Game of Thrones, and HBO, as of right now, is actively in pre-production for 4 potential series spinoffs for Game of Thrones. And not only are all these happening at the same time, based on how well they're done, they're willing to greenlight multiple ones, and some of them are being worked on with George R.R. Martin, the creator and author of the books. And you already prefaced how big this story is, but I mean the
massive story.
The possibilities for what's to come they're endless.
I am not a big fan of the story.
Really?
In fact, I'm a little bit annoyed by it. There are so many ways that this can go, but I'll tell you just how I'm seeing it right now. This could go one of 2 main ways. They could have just greenlit 4 or 5.
4.
They could have just greenlit 4 brand new Game of Thrones centric series to come to play where there's multiple season 3 or 5 or 4 seasons of brand new Game of Thrones content. Not only do I hate that idea, I fucking hate that idea. I do not want that at all. What the other road they could go down here, which I'm a bigger fan of, is if HBO decided to greenlight individual standalone seasons of 4 different spinoffs. So like a True Detective style or a Big Little Lies or a Night of, one single season that pretty much an 8-hour movie for Game of Thrones. I'm still not the biggest fan of that idea, but I would be much more receptive to that. We know that HBO has been putting in a lot of money and effort into these sort of, I don't know if you want to call them miniseries or just anthology type of series, whatever it would be. And they've been great, man. I mean, for the most part, True Detective Season 1 was incredible. The Night of was fantastic. And Big Little Lies was such a pleasant surprise. That rhymes. How are you feeling about this news?
I'm actually not down on it at all. I mean, there are probably a lot of people that are concerned, like, oh, this is the Fear the Walking Dead.
That's legitimately what Luke Jagger said.
It's not the same at all. Partially because this is in preparation for the original series to end, whereas Fear the Walking Dead is running parallel. I mean, the story itself isn't parallel, but there are two shows happening in the same time. With the original series already, developing a tired premise season to season. So something like Game of Thrones, there's a lot more that you can do with that universe. Game of Thrones is more like compared to Star Wars than to Walking Dead. So I don't like jumping to that conclusion. I mean, and I hate The Walking Dead.
Right.
And Fear the Walking Dead is garbage.
Sorry, Kevin Marks.
Yeah. Oh, great. Now he's going to message me. No, Game of Thrones can be compared to something like Star Wars before you compare it to The Walking Dead.
Certainly. And yeah, don't get me wrong. Let me just say from what I said earlier, the universe and the world 100% is something that could be expanded on further. My biggest issue with this is, especially if they're doing full seasons, I just feel like that's so much time and money to put your efforts into, as opposed to these standalone stories like an anthology type of series. And we have this incredible series that we've already been given so far. Absolutely fantastic. And then you're going to throw in additional stories to, I mean, so far they've been great. They've been fantastic, but I just feel like trying to cash in then, which it sort of feels like to me, it just sounds a little bit dangerous. Now, one of the other issues that I had, we've been talking about this a lot lately too. I've always wanted to see what HBO's move is once Game of Thrones ends, to see where all of that money, they've essentially been spending all this money, and now they have an abundance of money left, not left over, but what is going to fill that gap? What are they going to throw that money towards? And it seems like they're just going to throw it towards more Game of Thrones. And it's just kind of a letdown. I wanted to see what else we could get with that same amount of money, like a potential Star Wars, which I don't think is going to happen on HBO.
Part of me feels like they don't care about money anymore.
Yeah.
Like, if more than one of these goes to air at the same time, am I right? I'm right about that, right? I didn't mix up my words. Because even when I'm saying it sounds crazy that there could be two Game of Thrones series going on at the same time.
Well, I was more under the impression that we would be getting year-round Game of Thrones. Like, we would be getting like one season in the spring.
When I'm saying parallel, I don't mean like literally like Saturday and Sunday. I mean, in the same year, there's two different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me.
You know who's working on one of these?
Who's that?
Jane Goldman. And if you don't know who that name is, Jane Goldman is a frequent producer and screenwriter.
She's a friend of yours?
With our boy, Matthew Vaughn. Jane Goldman is responsible for Kingsman, X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass. She's awesome. She's great. I love her red hair. She is currently working on one of these things, and I would love for her to get one to series. I think that'd be incredible. I think she's great. So that excites me. I think I saw in that same text conversation, you were also worried about the idea of it being prequel.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up.
So
what the fuck was that?
I don't.
What was that?
It was silverfish.
Oh no, I hate
things.
those things.
Those things eat spiders.
Okay,
You're
well,
good.
talk. I'm gonna kill.
You're gonna talk while you. Okay.
Here, go ahead. Just say something.
You'll never catch it. I will. All I was gonna say is that for some reason that doesn't bother me. Like, we've had discussions before about prequels, and everybody knows that there's that inevitability factor to it. Did you get it? It's dead, Jay.
What's funny is that What's funny is that
Eat it, Dolly.
Oh, I don't care if she does. I used to have a cat that would eat them all the time. What's funny about that bug that just crawled across the floor is there are some places I can't vacuum. Like I just can't get to them. I'm not about to move my furniture to vacuum this dog hair, but it crawled into like a bed of dog hair and couldn't escape. It's fucking gross. I just killed it and it was just like entangled in this web of dog hair. Anyways,
so
who are you talking about?
The idea of it being a prequel series.
How was it, Dolly?
That doesn't bother me at all. Because
I hate that. You know how I feel about prequels. Now,
Okay.
don't get me wrong. We don't know shit about what happened before, really.
So the problem is that we're talking about like some recent movies that have done prequels. Star Wars. Those are the go-to. Star Wars, if it wasn't about Anakin Skywalker, they could have done a prequel series at that point in the late 90s could have been Knights of the Old Republic and been far and away and had nothing to do with the original trilogy. Right. But they make the decision to make it tied directly into it. And so you have that inevitability factor. So you can make a choice as to how prequel you're going to get.
Yeah, how so tied into the existing world. Better Call Saul is a perfect example.
Exactly.
Just that there are no stakes in that show.
So when we're reacting to those types of things,
that's
I think
a fair point.
Our reactions are based on timeline, not necessarily. It just so happens that most prequels are done in a direct way, but we don't know that yet. I mean, there are 4 potential timelines, so I'm not ready to have the conversation of the inevitability. I don't know if I want this because, again, like Star Wars, they don't have to decide to do a series on young Ned Stark.
That's right. And I mean, there's all the stuff that happened just in general with the Targaryens before we even got there. I mean, it's intriguing. It is intriguing. And the fact that they have announced 4. Now, if they said, here's 4 and they're all going to be prequels, I'd be like, all right, let's, I mean, I would like it if they did maybe 1 prequel, 1 future, and maybe like 2 side stories that ran parallel with the current timeline, maybe something like that. I mean, also don't really want to see I don't want an Oberyn show. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's again inevitability.
Yeah, I don't want to play in the same sandbox, so to speak. But just side note, one storyline I've been crying out for a prequel for a really, really long time, and we sort of got it, but it's not exactly what I wanted. Harry Potter. I want Harry Potter prequel stuff that is centered around that crew of people.
What we actually saw in the movies with the adults.
Essentially, I mean, I want
that goes against our entire argument.
I know. I know. It's surprising to me. I think the entire story of Severus Snape what we actually got to see is fascinating to me. We sort of got it in what's that one movie that centered around him? It's my favorite one.
Fantastic Beasts?
No, the one that centered around Snape. It's like the second to last one, isn't it?
Oh, the
what's that one called?
Why am I forgetting?
What?
Wow.
Wow.
Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince.
Half-Blood Prince. Anyways, so
I thank myself.
And the challenge with these Game of Thrones stories is the same challenge again. Star Wars and their standalones. I don't really mind them telling these stories so much. I just need them to stand on their own. I don't want. And again, I'll go back to Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul, I feel like, stands in addition to Breaking Bad. Of course it does. I mean, we're, again, still playing in the same sandbox. I want them to develop a storyline with a whole other group of people that I can be as much of a fan of that as I am of the main show itself. And I don't know, the more we're talking about it, I'm obviously excited about it. Quality with this is not something I'm worried about. They know how to make great Game of Thrones shit. But it's just so many other stories.
Weiss and Benioff know how to make Game of Thrones shit.
Exactly. And
I would think that Jane Goldman would as well. She's great.
I don't want there to be some sort of I don't want people to get tired of it. I don't want there to be some sort of what's that word called? People superhero
fatigue.
Fatigue. Yeah, I don't want there to be a Game of Thrones fatigue, so to speak.
I think my perspective is unique as well because I've had so little time with Game of Thrones.
That's fair.
like I've and the consciousness, it's been with me all this time. I mean, I remember buying the first season, the Blu-ray set when it came out, and experiencing it when people were just discovering the show, because people hadn't discovered yet back in like season 1, season 2 days. People were just it was building up to become the biggest series of all time. But yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I just binged the entire series for the first time earlier this year, or like in December. So
one of my favorite sight and sounds we've ever done.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's still new to me, so I don't think fatigue will be a problem for me personally. I don't know. I don't have a lot to fear yet.
The Walking Dead.
More has to clever. This story has to develop more because again, I think it's literally the exact same as us any other week talking about wanting Old Republic stuff.
All we have really is speculation. But just with that being said, I'm excited about it now that we've sort of worked through it, I guess. What types of stories do you want to? Because it has to be said, we have no idea how this show could end, and there could literally be no way you could tell more story. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Here's what I think one of the pitches is. Okay, it is literally them looking at Winds of Winter, which is the incomplete book that George R.R. Martin has promised for years is coming out. It hasn't, and probably won't, because now he's working on more television. One of these pitches that he's working on is literally them proofreading the book he has, erasing the names listed, and just creating new characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. Why not? It's there. No, I'm not being serious, but you could, and we would never know, honestly. But one thing I will say is that I don't give a shit if there's ever a Game of Thrones book again. I would love it. I would love it if George R.R. Martin sticks with helping out these shows.
It could be one of the most modern development of IP that's ever existed. Imagine if tomorrow they said, we're not going to do Marvel Comics anymore. We're just going to make these TV shows and movies. I mean, I like that because I don't like living in the past. I like to move forward, but I would love for them to pull some sort of card where they go so far in the future to where everything that we've seen in the show is almost mythology.
You want to see like the people in Game of Thrones starting to like
drive
industrialize cars and build cars.
Not necessarily, but just another era to where they look back on the things that we've seen. And obviously they have impact on the, whatever the relevant timeline is, but they just look back on it like it's mythology. And like, we know the things that they're speculating about, that they're unsure about, have actually happened. But just to see that take on things, I think would be fascinating. I've always wanted a Game of Thrones storyline to where mysticism and magic were much more prevalent. Like, obviously we get those things in the show, but they're very minor. A wizard isn't necessarily the most prevalent thing in the Game of Thrones universe, right? But I would love to see their version, like the Game of Thrones version of Harry Potter.
The Game of Thrones version of Harry Potter, and in the season finale, a Stark invents the light bulb.
Yeah, just Dumbledore fucking Voldemort or something like that. Because isn't he gay? Isn't Dumbledore gay? He is, isn't he? There's no comment to that. You don't want to see. You want to see what that looks like? Dumbledore or Voldemort would be great to make out with because he doesn't have a nose. You can sort of navigate it as effortlessly as possible.
You can follow the Twitter poll on Twitter at SightSoundPod going up right now. Would Voldemort be easy to make out with because he does not have a nose?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have much to go off of there. You ever made out with somebody with a big nose?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you have to do the thing like where you're pulling the car out of the parking lot and then like go back around to the other side of it? Do you switch positions? Does Ryan Snelling, as a kisser, does he?
What is this, an after party?
Does he switch positions in his makeout session?
Yeah.
Or do you sort of stay locked in?
No, I move around.
You ever done the thing where you get like the dead flipper where you're kind of one arm is active, but the other arm is like tucked up underneath.
Oh, I don't let that happen.
What do you do with your other arm? Because, you can make out like sitting up where
I put it in my pocket.
Do you really? Is that what you do?
No, I just put that up.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you can make out like sitting up to where both arms are free, but sometimes you're laying down and one arm's got to be, you got the dead flipper. I'm sort of giving you time to make your poll.
Yeah, and it's utter nonsense, but I love it.
Okay, regardless. You got anything else before we move on to music?
No, do you want to take another break?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
I'm not sure how people listen to Sight and Sound every single week, whether it's on our YouTube page or it's on SoundCloud or you subscribe to the podcast itself. But if you're not subscribed to the podcast and you're listening to this right now, make sure that you know that every single week we bring you Sight and Sound Weekly, of course, but then we kind of break off and do our own little thing. We have Sight and Sound music episodes hosted by yours truly. Obviously, Ryan's got you covered in Sight and Sound movies. And we've even got Sight and Sound television. We do this weekly thing every single week. But for people looking for a little bit more content, we break it down to each individual categories that we talk about. Make sure you're subscribed on our podcast feed or on YouTube or however you find this podcast. And be on the lookout for our standalone episodes.
I went into this week with music not being 100% sure what I was going to talk about, what I was going to bring to the table, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Music, a lot like movies, it's in the summer. A lot of stuff is coming out. We talked about it on our summer preview. I just put up a review for the new At the Drive-In album, Interalia. It's on YouTube right now. But the first week of the summer for music releases, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, was incredible. I got up on Friday morning and was sifting through everything, and I don't remember the last time I had such a long queue of things I needed to listen to, even stuff that I didn't know about and didn't realize. But the album that we're going to be talking about today, Logic's album Everybody, is something that I could not wait to talk about with you.
I thought we were talking about The Maine.
The Maine, what is that?
The Maine?
The Maine? The band The Maine?
You never heard of The Maine?
I know the band The Maine.
Yeah, they have a new album.
I could not care less about that, nor does anybody else.
I hear it's great.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people like You Me at 6, too.
I thought I would have heard it from the from the music guru, Jay Williams, but no, I had to hear it from other friends.
That band is irrelevant.
Yeah, you're right.
How does it feel?
They haven't been relevant since their Tank Top days.
There's also a new Seether album that came out.
Oh, yeah? That band's irrelevant.
I almost talked.
Is he still married to Amy Lee?
I have no idea. There was also another a band that we almost talked about called A Blaze of Feather. And I was really excited to talk about it, but then that album, it's good. It was an EP, but there was almost nothing to talk about with that. Also, new Blondie album dropped. But let's talk about this one. Logic, his album Everybody. This was not on my radar. It was not something that I was really anticipating. Logic is sort of I'm going to say an alternative, semi underground rapper and hip hop artist. He is signed to a major label, but he doesn't really dance with the other devils in the mainstream hip hop.
Write metal lyrics over there?
I am. He's not really a name that's sort of bounced around there. A lot of hip hop heads that are a little bit more attuned to like the B level. I don't mean that by quality, but just the next level surface of hearing about rap and hip hop. People who listen to Action Bronson, Childish Gambino, even Run the Jewels to a certain extent.
My question for you was, how have I heard of Logic? Like, I've never listened to his music, and if you played me a song, I never would have been able to pick him out.
Yeah.
But I've heard the name, and I'm trying to think of why.
Well, Logic...
Like, has he done guest spots that I'd be familiar with?
Have you ever heard of a song called, it's either Miss Daisy or Driving Miss Daisy about Childish Gambino?
Is that on Royalty?
I don't know.
That mixtape?
I don't know. Maybe.
Say that, or is it on Camp?
I don't know. I'm not a big Childish Gambino fan, but regardless, he was on that song. He runs around or has ran around with the Childish Gambino camp, so to speak. And yeah, I mean, if you had knowledge of him before, he's a guy, I don't know, it's hard to sort of explain his sort of level. in the hip hop game, because like I said, he is signed to a major label, but he's not a Drake. He's not even an A$AP Rocky or a Schoolboy Q, so to speak. He's just not one of those individuals. But I saw this album and I had seen it before. I had seen the cover before because Killer Mike actually tweeted it out, or not tweeted it out, but put it out on his Instagram saying that he was really proud of this guy and him putting out this album. So I wanted to check it out, give it a spin like I normally do. The first thing, my first impression of this was the album cover looked really dope. But the next impression were some of the people that were I didn't even play one song, just some of the people that were featured on this album. So I'm going to run through them and I want your take. The first feature that I see is Killer Mike. How do you feel about Killer Mike being on this album?
Run the Jewels 3 is arguably my favorite hip hop album to come out
this year.
Yeah. Because it did come out in 2016, right?
It did. It came out technically
it was right on the edge.
Technically, it came out. It came out early in December, but the physical version was released in January. It was always supposed to come out in January.
Yeah.
So you like the fact that Killer Mike was on this, or just you like that idea that gets you excited?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. The next one that's listed, and probably the one that made me say "what the hell" the most, is Baby Driver's Ansel Elgort.
He runs really stupid in those Divergent movies. He's one of the worst runners I have ever seen on film.
Never saw.
What did he do in that song? Is
Divergent.
he the singer? There's no way.
He's the guy that sings on that last
Bullshit.
part. I swear to God.
Bullshit.
I swear to God.
Oh my God.
That his part in that song, at first I was like, is this Kid Cudi? And then I thought about it and I was like, wait, this is Ansel Elgort.
There's no way.
What do you feel about, first of all, when I told you that, what were your thoughts? You didn't react to it or respond.
I mean, I listened to the song and I saw his name on there.
Yeah.
And because I never heard his...
Did you think it was somebody else's? Is there somebody else with this ridiculous name?
No, because I never heard his speaking voice, I thought that he might have just... And this sounds more wild now that I'm saying it out loud, but less wild than the actual result. I thought he might have helped produce it in some way, or maybe he was sampled on it for some reason. Maybe he had a memorable quote in Fault in Our Stars that applied to the song. I never thought anything of it. I saw his name, never thought anything of it when I listened to the actual song. I cannot believe he sings the hook in the song.
Not only does he sing the hook, I think the song Killing Spree that he sings on, I think it might be my favorite song on the entire album.
It's really good.
It's a fucking great song. All right.
It is good.
Just going along through some of this. Chuck D of Public Enemy. Are you serious?
Are you kidding me right now?
One of the legends of hip hop in this. Also, No ID, who is prominently featured in Logic's career. No ID was primarily involved in jumpstarting Kanye West's career in the College Dropout, late registration, graduation days. He was a huge part in Kanye's career. Juicy J, is he from? Who is he from? I should know this. This was in like the dark era of hip hop for me when I just didn't care. Juicy J was a part of, was it Hot Boys? I don't know. I don't know.
What was it?
Or 3 6 Mafia?
3 6 Mafia. Yeah.
There you go. Were you a big 3 6 Mafia fan?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay. Regardless. Probably another really bizarre one. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who he's only credited on the last song, but he actually pops up on this album a few times. He plays God on this album. And I say God because that's how he talks. He talks like this.
That's really good, actually.
What are your thoughts on Neil deGrasse
Star
Tyson?
Talk. He's the man.
Black holes.
He's the man. He should run for president.
I agree. I fucking love Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He thinks a scientist should be part of Congress, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah. So
anyway, he's a great choice for God. It's awesome, and he killed it.
That's right.
He was really good.
I agree. So let me talk to you guys about why I picked this album. This isn't just any rap album. So far this year, I've been championing the fact, and it hasn't been the strongest year for music, but I've been championing the fact that Sampha's Process album has easily, far and away, like not even a second close, has been my album of the year pick thus far. It's the best album that I've heard. And still to this day, I say that. But last year, last year, Life of Pablo was leading that charge for me, and Radiohead dropped a Moon-Shaped Pool, and the entire fucking year, those two albums were battling it out constantly. I would listen to them back to back and like write down bullet points. Well, this is why this one's better, and da 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 da. I have that album now. This album, Everybody by Logic, is fucking fighting it out right now for me for the best album of 2017 with Sampa's Process. You've listened to it. What is your take on me saying that? I'll tell why in a minute, but go ahead.
Well, when I said that Run the Jewels 3 is arguably the best hip-hop album this year, it's because it is arguing with this album. So I have no problem. And Sampa didn't really stick with me like it has you. So
it's not, Sampa's not for everybody.
My reaction to what you just said is the fact that I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Because I really, really enjoy this album.
Yeah.
Did you know that I was going to like it?
This ticks so many boxes on the Ryan Selling algorithm, which is weird because that one is still getting fine-tuned for rap and hip-hop. But I know that one, it's...
Well, how you worded it and how you piqued my interest was that you said it was the Gambino album I wish I got last year.
Yeah. How do you feel about that statement?
It's true. I mean...
To a certain extent.
I think I like Gambino better still.
Yeah.
Like, as an artist, not the recent album. But... I see differences, but I know what you meant. And as far as checking boxes on the, you knew that because of where I hold Gambino that I would, of course, enjoy this as well. So it makes absolute sense, and you're absolutely right. I just like the idea of him going hard, but about real things, about the politics. And
let me stop you just for a second. So I want to go into why I think this album is so good as well, and I'll let you hit on some of those points. The first thing, the overarching statement to be made is that Logic has done something, this is my opinion, of course, but Logic has done something that no other rapper has done yet, in my opinion, and it's kind of hard for me to believe. So right now in the rap and hip hop landscape, when you say some of the biggest names and the heavy hitters, your Kanye West, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, you can Childish Gambino is not one of those individuals in that upper echelon, but I'll throw his name out there too, just for the sake of this conversation. They all have their own identity. They all are like, you could hear their records and tell almost immediately that that's who each of those individuals are. So far, nobody has really taken elements of all of them and successfully molded them and blended them. This album has elements of Kanye West, the best of Kanye West. This album has elements of Drake. This album has elements of Kendrick Lamar and so many other incredible rappers. He has taken all of these influences and blended them together without completely ripping them off. There are certain elements, like, for instance, on the song Everybody, he almost directly lifts a Kendrick Lamar flow, which is nor here nor there, but regardless, he's been able to do that, and he's been able to do it well. The execution of it is fantastic. The other thing about this album, he has done something here, and I might get shit for this, but he's done something here that I've been challenging Kendrick Lamar to do for the last few years, and he fucking did it. Kendrick Lamar is yet to do this, and he fucking did it. He made an album that was politically, socially, personally aware, and a cinematic album. This album definitely has cinematic elements to it.
Yeah.
But it is also full of fucking bangers from front to back. Almost every single song on this album, not only does it tell a story, not only does it have something very important to say, but they are all incredible, incredible hit songs.
So based on that, like, because I'm less of a hip hop fan than I am like metal or rock or whatever you want to call it, that means it's easier for me to get distracted and not care and turn off. I have yet to be displeased with any of the songs. Yeah. I'm not totally done with the album yet. I'm about 2/3 through it.
It's a longer album.
But just based simply on that fact, for someone who's not a hip hop head, and the fact that I keep listening, I am absolutely loving what he's doing so far with this.
Just from the first song alone, Hallelujah, just some of the, when I say it's cinematic, I mean, it starts off epic, man. The first song is like a 7-minute long song. It does have like some skit stuff towards the end, but it starts off with almost a Coldplay-esque sort of open your mind, open your mind. It builds into this hip hop beat that drops with a great hook. The hallelujah, praise God, the Most High. I mean, it's fantastic. Then it goes in towards the end into an acoustic part, like an acoustic guitar part, and it has these movements to it.
It's weird.
It's such a great way to kick off the album. And there's a narrative here. I mean, there's a narrative of him walking with Neil deGrasse Tyson as God and sort of exploring these different elements. Let's talk about some of the things that he talks about. So Logic is a mixed race rapper and hip hop artist, and he hits on a topic that is very widely discussed these days of individual identity. He identifies as both black and white because he is mixed race. He's both black and white. So he sees both sides of these things. He addresses things like white privilege and black empowerment, and he addresses growing up as an individual who never felt comfortable in both sections of that topic. He never fit in with his black friends. They would call him, white privilege.
That's what I was going to say.
And with his white friends, they would maybe be racist to him or something like that. He never felt to have a place or a home in either of those two things. Do you have a take on any of that?
No, you just said what I was going to say.
Regardless, I mean, that right there and his perspective on that is so interesting right now. It's such a prevalent issue. Not issue, it's such a prevalent topic of discussion right now that to hear somebody have that take and that perspective, it's just relevant. And to mix in the fact that they're in these great songs is fantastic as well. He also touches on some political stuff too. He talks about war in other countries, President Trump, and regardless of if you agree with some of the things he says, it's still interesting to hear on an album like this. You don't really get a lot of hip hop these days that go into this sort of territory. That's why it's no surprise to me that he has somebody like a Chuck D from Public Enemy, who was such a political band. Did it surprise you that you were able to sort of groove to some of these songs and get hype from some of these songs while still hearing lyrics like that?
Yes, the song "Take It Back."
Oh, one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites
is the one that it's like, what is he doing? This is what I wanted, and I didn't even know it at the time. And I think it's like 5 or 6 songs in. I mean, it's pretty far into the album.
Did you ever catch yourself getting really into a song and then being like, wait, what is he saying?
Exactly. And that doesn't happen. I mean, there have been plenty of times where you have led the conversation with, listen to this. This is political. I feel like you'd like this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe because when I'm listening to the song, I'm not really responding to what's actually being said. Maybe I'm not picking it up. I picked up almost every word that he said. I mean, I was extremely involved in what this song was in particular. And I can't wait to go back with that perspective, knowing who he is now and listening to the songs that I might not have been as involved in, like the song Everybody, the second song. Same with Hallelujah. So, I mean, the experience just got better and better for me, and it's going to enrich the second listen for sure.
The funny thing about this, and just to take it back to the Kendrick Lamar point, is Kendrick Lamar has those same elements to him, but the album, at least on To Pimp a Butterfly, wasn't as easy to digest.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. This album has so much crossover appeal. You could easily hear a lot of these songs in a club or just driving down the road, people listening to it in the car next to you. But the fact that it still has those important messages and those important conversations within the song is very powerful. Now, the thing that I want to end with is a pretty interesting thing. I am waiting with bated breath to see what the reviews of this are, because so far the reviews of this album, one that I looked up before we recorded this, labeled this album as preachy. I've seen other reviews saying that the reviews so far that I've seen have not been great for this. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, objectively, taking my own personal opinion out of it, this guy is delivering what so many people, and especially diehard hip hop fans, miss. I mean, this guy can rap. I mean, this guy can rap really, really good.
Yeah.
I love Drake, but that's not something I can necessarily say about Drake or Kanye. Kanye's not the greatest rapper, but this guy has something to say, and he's doing it in a very catchy way, in a very mainstream sort of way as well. But I feel like because he's not in that upper echelon, and maybe also that he is a little bit left field, a little bit alternative, and I don't know this for sure, but I think the mixed race thing may give him less validity. Like, I don't know why people...
I was going to say, did anyone say, and this is actually interesting because it has to do with a white rapper and a black rapper, did anyone say Run the Jewels 3 was preachy? Because I don't...
Exactly.
As far as content, I don't really see the difference.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Same with Kanye West. Kanye West is hailed not just for how good he is or his production techniques, which are always at the forefront, but how personal he gets with his own life. He gets very meta, even though it's things that we can't really relate to, like paparazzi. People like that he's this boisterous individual who calls himself a god, but on his albums he's able to look inward.
Yeah,
this guy's doing similar things.
I was gonna say, I don't recall that ever being an issue when it comes to hip hop.
Exactly, it's just bizarre to me.
That's such a weird thing to say about a hip hop album to me. Unless it was like a religious rapper that we were talking about.
Who Kanye West and Chance the Rapper made quote unquote gospel hip hop albums last year.
Yeah, it's just so. Who did that? Who said that?
Who said what?
Who said that quote?
I can't remember.
I was gonna say, that just sounds ridiculous.
I can't remember, but regardless, so far it's been strange to me, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was the narrative coming out of this thing. But I'm going to do an actual full-on album review on YouTube soon, but it's just blowing me away. But there is a group of rappers out there that just aren't quite taken seriously. One of them is Macklemore, and there's a reason for that. Macklemore can be incredibly cheesy, but actually last year I thought Macklemore's last album wasn't bad. I thought it was fairly decent. He actually has some really good things to say.
Top 10?
It wasn't. No, I don't.
Top 30?
I don't even know if I got it on my top 30. It was on the outside though. It was an album that definitely had a lot to say in it and some good things to say. But he's not taken too seriously. Somebody like Action Bronson is also not taken too seriously. Even Childish Gambino, to a certain extent, is sort of, but he's always talked about with this asterisk, like, oh, he's a movie star who, he's an actor that's also doing music. And this guy doesn't have that beside him, but I'm so confused why the narrative coming out of this from the critical perspective is negative, because not only is nothing about this album bad to me, but I legitimately don't get it. Like it's like somebody telling me that Game of Thrones is a bad show. Like, if you have issues with it, I get it. But if you just outright say it is categorically bad.
If you just say that Star Trek Into Darkness is bad, then we're going to have problems.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, maybe it's not for people. I don't know. It's just it's a crazy thing to sort of come out of. But I'm really excited that you enjoyed it. It does for me. It does have beats, no pun intended, for Childish Gambino fans. And yeah, like I said, the production on this album is unbelievable. He does some things that is heavily influenced by Kanye West production-wise. That doesn't surprise me, considering he's running around with No ID, who is one of Kanye's sort of mentors going through the years. And I'm just excited, man. I'm excited for more people to find out about this. I could not be more high on this album. That's pretty much all I've got to say about it. You got anything else?
No, I'm just actually really excited that I've found yet another hip-hop album that I can get into this year.
How are you feeling about a potential album of the year list this year?
I feel like my album of the year list is just going to be all of the albums that I've heard this year. Because by the time I get to the end of the year, I'm only gonna have like 10 albums total.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be the 10 that I heard from best to worst. So my number 10 on my top 10 list might be a horrible album.
Yeah. I mean, I did a top 30 last year, and there is no way in hell I can make a top 30 this year, because what'll happen is I'll get to like, okay, there's 16 great albums I've heard this year, and then I'll go through it and I'll say, well, 6 of these are just kind of okay. So I'll just have to cut some from the team. But nonetheless, yeah, again, I'm very excited about people to check this guy out for sure. We've got a ton of great music coming out, and I couldn't be more excited to talk about it. You got anything else before we move into plugs and wrap this bitch up?
Nah. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, and then we'll do the Twitter poll.
All right, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JWilliams, J to the A to the Y to the E. It's the same for both. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at SightSoundPod, Facebook.com/SightSoundPod. Give us a like on the old Facebook page. That would be great. Somebody sent us a message. Did you know that?
I read it, and thank you.
It's full of information.
They were very kind and fair to what I had to say about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and they gave me some supplemental reading material.
Absolutely.
So that was very, very nice.
We're also on YouTube. Subscribe to us there for additional content. We just put out our first vlog. Actually, the second vlog might be out. What we're doing with those, we're essentially doing weekly vlogs. Our lives are not interesting enough to do a daily vlog. But regardless, you can find that there. And the t-shirts, sightsoundpod.com. Go pick up your Sight and Sound t-shirt today. That would be much appreciated. Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at WhatUpSnell. Make sure if you're watching The Leftovers to tune in. We put up our after show Sunday night, Monday morning, and you can also find us on the TV Showtime app, which is a great place for TV fans to be. It's a social media app, in case you didn't know, and you can track all your progress with all of your favorite shows and talk to people who are watching the same stuff you are. And I think, did you already... Again, plug the t-shirts?
Yeah, I did.
I
plug the t-shirts.
I didn't hear any of you. Let's get to the Twitter poll. Because this is a shorter episode, we didn't have a big response, but I think I set all of them to 7-day votes. So if you guys are listening on Wednesday on SK Plus, you still have time to contribute to the polls. Is it harder for Christopher Nolan to make a movie like Interstellar or Inception, or a movie like Dunkirk? 57% said Dunkirk. Does Dunkirk look like what you know as a Christopher Nolan movie? 54% said no.
Really? How many votes we got on that?
13.
Oh, wow.
Would Voldemort be easy to make out with since he doesn't have a nose? 63% said yes. The number should be a lot higher. Is the main still relevant? 100% said no.
How many votes on that?
8. Do you understand why people think Star Trek Into Darkness is bad? Last minute update, 50-50 with 2 votes, because I literally just put up that post. But anyway, thank you so much. And again, you can follow the Twitter poll at SightSoundPod.
All right, guys, that's all we've got. Thank you guys so much. We love you. We'll see you on the next one.